Here we are at the end of the last full week of September, though technically the last actual day of September will not be until Sunday, but we can really go on weekends when people are home, so I'm knocking it out today. Trying to go through a couple of things. I'm going to attempt my first September book haul thing, because I got a good amount of books this month. I think I've gotten more in previous months, but we're going to just start from here and also kind of go over the books that I read this month. And yeah, so there's three main places that I get my books from lately. One being the Goodreads books place down the road from here down in Macon. They have some fairly decently priced books. I usually get stuff between about $2 to $8 each there. I also, in Marietta, I have two main places I go to, one being Second and Charles, which is also kind of new and used together, and I usually get books there. I usually end up getting stuff between $2 to $4 each, but sometimes I spend a little bit more on a newer book depending on what I'm after, but usually I try and keep things within that range. And the last thing in Marietta is I go to Goodwills all the time because they have really good Goodwills there, whereas we don't have hardly anything decent here in Middle Georgia. And so I get a lot of books there, definitely, between ones in Marietta and the ones in Cumming. The ones in Cumming are really great. And I usually go to those after visiting Nikki up in there, after birthday parties and such. I usually make a Goodwill run, and I usually spend about the $2 a book there because that's the regular pricing. And so yeah, those are my three main places I go to. Though I just wandered into a Barnes & Noble that's down the street from here the day before yesterday because I was super tired and I needed something to distract me and wake me up. So I just went and spent an hour just looking through books. I didn't actually get anything. I just literally looked through books, found ones that I'd seen a bunch of bookshelf tours, and just added them to my wish list there. So yeah, before this gets any longer, because I've already spent 3 minutes just introducing this, let me go ahead and actually go through this. So this is my Goodwills books pile. Charlie St. Cloud by Ben Sherwood. And I've already seen the movie a while ago. I have a copy of that. I hadn't actually realized it was based off of a book, but I thought it was pretty interesting. The general gist of it, kind of seeing ghosts, was interesting to work with there, and some nice plot twists in it. The Born Identity by Robert Ludlum. I have seen at least the first 3 of the movies with Matt Damon in them a while back, and I recently got the first two movies, actually the first 3 now, between things this month. So I just recently watched those. I initially wasn't also aware that these were books either, but I actually found a whole bunch of these at the Cobb Book Library sale that I went to back in April. I almost bought 6 of the books in the series because I think someone else took over the series from Ludlum after he passed, but I ended up with 20 other books aside from the ones I picked up from this series at the time, and it was going to be $30 or more between all of them, so I had to cut them out at that time, but found this recently, so I've started getting this series now. Inferno at Goodwills by Dan Brown. I also got 2 Nicholas Sparks books to continue my collection. I think this puts me at 5 of them. So I found The Notebook and A Walk to Remember, which are 2 of the movies that I have really enjoyed when I was younger, and my mom and I used to watch. And I still have to get a copy of A Walk to Remember for the movie, but I've had The Notebook for a bit because my mom had an extra copy she gave me. So I have these 2 adding into my collection that also includes The Last Song that I got from my mom for my birthday a while back. I got the Lucky one from her because she was downgrading to ebooks and trying to like simplify things there. And then I also have Safe Haven, which I bought myself because I love the movies so much. And the last one I got at Goodreads was actually something that I just kind of found while looking through memoirs and biographies and stuff, because I've seen a bunch that I'm really actually interested in. I've actually like kind of developed this small kind of obsession with those after reading a couple there, but unfortunately I haven't gotten very many yet. So I actually stumbled across this one, which is Staying Strong 365 Days a Year by Demi Lovato. So those are my 6 from Goodreads books. And then back on the 19th, I ended up visiting Marietta and Cumming because it was the first time I was able to get in touch with Lisa in over a year, since we went to down underground Atlanta together last July. And we went and visited Chillins and everything for the afternoon, but since she had work still until 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I first went up there for the day, I went ahead and stopped into the Second and Charles there, over technically in Kennesaw. Another 6 books at Second and Charles. It's The Born Supremacy by Robert Ludlum. I got The Last Symbol. So now I have the first 4 of this series, because I have Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code already. I apparently was not aware that Angels and Demons is the first and Da Vinci Code is actually the second, so that was interesting. Beauty by Susan Wilson, and I'm also kind of minorly obsessed with Beauty and the Beast, so when I saw this one, the cover was really pretty and I kind of liked the turn of it. I ended up getting most of the next set of Pretty Little Liars books. I've been slowly getting them, which is Wicked, Killer, and Heartless. Then later that day on the 19th, after I went and met up with Lisa and we visited Chillins for a while, we ended the day by going to one of the Goodwills there up and Coming, and I ended up with a few movies but also 3 more books. And there also were several cuts made to this trip as well. Finally tracking down a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, because I've been trying to get one from Goodreads forever, and they have a bunch of the sequels and spin-offs, but no one has seemed to have this one in stock, so I can finally get Nikki off my back about not having read it yet. I mean, even Aeon has finished reading it, I think, like last year, and so I'm kind of behind. 4 by Veronica Roth, Miss Bow by Owen Colfer. I never remember how I'm supposed to pronounce the first name. This is a book that Beth has been recommending to me for well over a decade, because she used to have a bunch of these books, as well as like I don't know if it's the Magic series or Septimus Heap. I believe it's under Septimus Heap, but she used to read a bunch of those books, and I remember borrowing at least 1 or 2 of them from her. Never actually really read through the whole thing, so it's been kind of in the back of my mind for ages that, hey, I need to like read this, because I remember really rather liking it, but just never actually finishing it. So I finally got myself a copy of that. That is all of my book haul for September. I ended up with 15 books in total. This is like a really tall stack of books. Okay. I didn't even remember to put this one on top. Okay. I was close. So there's that. And then ending things up with the books that I actually finished reading over the month. I am still finishing the last one, but it's going to take a minute, so it'll almost definitely bleed over into October, but that's okay. For September, I have read a total of about 5.5 books, almost 5.5. I started out by being in the middle of the 11 Thumbs and the Whispered Secret by Obert Sky. I have been slowly working through this series for well over a decade, as I think I've mentioned previously in other vlogs a few days ago. But basically, this is a book that was written by a member of the LDS Church that I'm part of, and my mom ended up recommending this to David and I forever ago, and I started reading it at the time, got somewhere in the 3rd book of the series, ended up drifting away from it, whether it was school assignments or other books or whatever, I don't remember. It took me forever to get back to it, but now I actually have all five, technically 6 books in the series, so I finally binged through them all this month and part of last month, because I already finished the first one back in August, so this is actually book 2, and I have book 3 in the series, which is 11 Thumbs and the Eyes of the One, 11 Thumbs and the Wrath of Ezra, which is book 4, 11 Thumbs and the Ruins of Alder, which is book 5, which I actually didn't know existed until I managed to stumble upon it in Got Walls about 2 months ago or so that was exciting to find. And then last but not least, in the 11 Thumbs series, I also read in one day the little spin-off / prequel of Professor Winsnicker's book of proper etiquette for Wellbenner's sycophants. This one was also pretty cute. I mean, I love the little tattered pages ending, kind of like the series of Unfortunate Events does, but it was really a kind of cute read, seeing like the textbook that Clover had in school prior to everything happening, and there's like 3 different little secret codes that are like hidden in the book that I like having to go through and like figure that out as well. And now I'm in the middle of reading Peau de Pêche by Jodi Lynn Anderson. Nikki actually lent this to me while I was coming for the visit back on the 19th. She lent this to me to read. Basically, it is a story of 3 girls on a peach orchard in Georgia, I think over spring break or something there. But basically, from the different summaries I've read online, because I did compare English with French because it's originally translated from English, it's kind of meant to be similar to the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And so I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. It's been a little bit of a slow read initially, just trying to figure out all the different characters, because they kind of mention a few in the first couple of chapters, and with my never having read it before, it was a little difficult to follow initially, just introducing myself to all these new characters at once in French. So what I've also started doing is I went ahead and grabbed the English version called Peaches in English on my Kindle, which I'm reading on my phone. So I read like 1 chapter at a time in the French book, and then I go and reread the chapter in English, so that anything that kind of slipped through my understanding and on the initial read, I can get it while it's still fresh in my mind, rather than having to go through the whole book and just kind of being a little lost along the way. A little bit more comfortable there, because I don't think I've ever read a French book other than like in French class before reading it in English first. So it's an interesting experience doing it this way around, rather than before where like it was like Harry Potter or Twilight, where I read it in English enough times that I was so familiar with the story that I was not lost at all with the different things, just being like, oh, that's what that is in French, because I knew from context. So it's been interesting. I'm about 100 pages in on the French side of things, and there's like 368 pages total, and I'm about 90 pages in or so in the English version on my Kindle. So I'm kind of excited to finish reading it. I may end up getting a copy of my own, because it's Georgia and Peaches and it's French and it's lovely. So overall, we have the 6 books we're reading in September. So there's the end of that. That's basically the gist of it that I wanted to go through today, since I'm kind of trying to do a little bit more of booktubing, since my vlogging has kind of like slumped a little bit there. I'm definitely excited to do more of it. I have already kind of like made a list of things that I want to kind of like keep up with, different tags that I liked. I also have an idea for a tag that I kind of want to try to start, so that's something that I need to finish putting together, because that'll be exciting and fun for me to do, because it's a video that I've kind of wanted to do already for a little while. And yeah, I hope that it'll be kind of fun to go through and hopefully bring a little bit more life to things. because I know my channel's been kind of dead because I've kind of not had a lot to record and therefore somehow still been busy / lazy enough not to finish editing things because I fall so far behind, and just in general there's not a lot going on down here other than when I go and visit people up in Atlanta, so it'll give me a little bit more to do at home, kind of look forward to and keep busy with, so I'm kind of excited to see where it goes and hope it'll be kind of fun. And I think I'm gonna leave things here for now, but it's been a lovely time just going through my books and just kind of like recording it. And yeah, I'm gonna go figure out what I'm gonna do for the rest of the morning here. It's about 12:20, so I have about an hour and a half until I go to work and figure out lunch and everything, so fun times. So this has been my lovely little setup while I was filming all of this. This is the new computer desk chair that I had ordered like 2 days ago, and just hasn't gotten around to building it. So for some reason he just covered it with a blanket, and now the cats are like loving it. As you can see, Ace is just chilling out there. Ace-ish. 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 Hey kitty. Hey kitty. Luna's over there being lazy with the movies. It's one of her favorite spots. She likes to pretend to be the guard kitty of the porch by pulling aside the blinds and like staring at all the plants out there. But yeah, I ended up just putting my GoPro on top of these Sephora play boxes because I need to work on getting like a tiny little stand or something, because my tripod that I use doesn't really fit with the GoPro, and I end up having to like duct tape the GoPro to it, so that's fun. Yeah, and then my little notebook where I made a list of all the books I needed to go through, and I just made like the little tiny piles, just kind of chilling out over here. So yeah, I gotta put all these books away and figure out lunch and just kind of chill.